Hello, welcome everybody to the 5th session today on Ansible with Dan Jast, 3 years of Ansible for Z. Here's what we've learned. I was joking earlier that maybe it should just be over those 5 sessions. So I've certainly learned a lot already today. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat, please. Dan is happy to answer them as we go, so I'll interrupt him and ask any questions. Other than that, I am going to go off video, go on mute, and hand it over to you, Dan. Have a good one.
Awesome. Thanks, Stuart. And thanks everyone for joining today. Happy to be here back at the GSE UK virtual conference for 2023. If you don't know me, my name's Dan Jast. I am one of the product managers here at IBM who support our Ansible for IBM Z investment that we've been making over the last 3 years as a part of our business. We've learned a lot over these last 3 years through our partnership with Red Hat and building out a lot of different collections and content for the Z Systems community to be able to leverage. And I'm really excited to share with you today, what some of the findings were through that, what some of the most popular use cases were that we discovered with our customers there, as well as I wanted to provide kind of a glimpse into the future of our roadmap a little bit from an IBM perspective on where we're heading next with Ansible and some of the cool future-facing capabilities that you could expect down the line in this Ansible space for Z Systems. As Stuart said, I'm pretty good with taking questions during the session, so feel free to just throw them in the chat and I'll be watching that as I go as well. And feel free as well to save any questions for the end and I'll be happy to take them there as well. If you do have any questions, definitely don't hesitate because I hope I have the answers. And if not, I'll definitely get you the answers from someone on my team. But with that, let's get rolling a little bit. And how I kind of framed this presentation, just for a little bit of awareness here. In the beginning, I really want to provide kind of an understanding of within this big IBM hybrid cloud strategy that we've been talking about for a long time, where Ansible sits in this. It is a major part in that strategy. And I want to make that kind of apparent to everyone here of kind of how that plays its role there. And then I want to talk about some of the content that's available today and what findings we experienced with customers through that content. Talk about those future-facing capabilities of new content that we're looking to produce this year. And then other links and resources to help anyone on the call here who is new to get started with Ansible, because there are definitely a lot of customers and clients who are new in this space as well. So hopefully that's okay with everyone. With that, we'll get rolling. So a good chance you've seen this chart before because this is one of the big IBM marketing charts. But really what I want to call out here, right, is that this platform and this infrastructure for hybrid cloud that we're now providing here and talking about with our clients is all about consistency and standardization across the enterprise and across different infrastructures. I'm going to use the word standardization and consistency a lot throughout this presentation because that is really what we are after as a unit right now in the Ansible space. You see here in the IBM infrastructure section at the bottom left, we now have Ansible content that spans Z Systems, of course, what we're here to talk about today, but it doesn't really stop there. We have content available for storage within our DS8000 boxes. We have content available for our power systems and a lot of the power capabilities and applications that run on those systems there. In our security space, we have collections for QRadar and other different security products that we have there, as well as collections that interact with the IBM cloud, right? So we're really providing this Ansible experience now across the entire range of the IBM infrastructure suite here. And it doesn't stop there, right? Because when you pair the Ansible automation platform with things like OpenShift and with things like Red Hat Enterprise Linux, you really get the best of the automation platform there and can really take advantage of a lot of additional capabilities, which we are working on, and a couple of which I will highlight throughout this presentation. But really here, right, what this is all about is throughout all 4 of these rows here, there is Ansible being a part of a lot of different pieces here. Not only do we have Ansible standalone collections, but we are also building Ansible into some of our software solutions here as well, which we'll talk about throughout this session. as well as we now have IBM consulting practices to help you with your Ansible adoption and use cases as well. So really, there's a whole lot happening in this Ansible space. Really excited to be a part of it for the last 3 years. And this message has continued to grow as to Ansible's major role in this hybrid cloud architecture that we're looking at here. So tightening the vision here and tightening the view just to the z/OS platform. We're going to go right back to the buzzwords that I mentioned before, right? This is all about providing kind of z/OS as this platform of choice by providing consistent and standard interfaces for our developers to be able to use for the z/OS platform. Now, there's a lot of different offerings and capabilities that are out there that are working on this today. I think Zoe made a ton of grounds in this space by being able to provide such a great open source framework to be, being a great first step in open source for the z/OS platform. And we're really excited about kind of what the direction we're seeing with bringing another great open source project in Ansible to the automation, to the Z platform as well. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see some offerings that we've listed out here. I'm going to go into a couple of these a little bit more deeper as to how we're leveraging certain, maybe more modern Ansible capabilities as a part of those to being able to kind of expand our reach with Ansible. But really, what I just really want to highlight here is that Ansible is really at the core of our mission and vision here for the z/OS platform when it comes to the automation space. And we're definitely looking forward to a lot of exciting announcements and capabilities coming out in 2023 to continue to showcase Ansible's role in this space here. Okay, so the Ansible automation platform, good chance you've probably seen this one if there's been 4 or 5 sessions before me already. But really what I want to highlight here is this topology here of what the Ansible automation platform looks like with all of its components is a lot different than when we started out 3 years ago, right? We're now up to Ansible automation platform 2.3. Half of these things did not exist or terminology has changed since then, right? So I do want to kind of highlight that a little bit here if you're newer to the Ansible automation platform and you're maybe looking for something like Ansible Tower to be on this chart, right? Because Ansible Tower has been for many, many years the graphical user interface for managing your Ansible automation, where you can provide all the role-based access controls and self-service access to your employees to be able to access the automation that they're required to access, right? So that has been rebranded slightly here. So now Tower, along with many other capabilities that Red Hat has been building out over the years and packaging into the Ansible automation platform, are now together as a part of this thing called the automation controller. So there's a lot going on here. There's, as I mentioned before, this is where you can provide all your role-based access controls and all of the different connectors now that they provide into different security products to be able to connect into, your LDAP servers and other types of access methods to be able to authenticate users into your automation controller are all there and present now. It's really robust in what you can do there. Also on the bottom left, I'll mention that Red Hat Insights for Ansible that provides within the controller analytics against the automation that you're running, so you can make sure the correct users are running the right automation, playbooks are executing in the speed that you'd expect them to, and it's mainly used for auditing capabilities and being able to collect insights into the automation on what's running when and who, so you can provide that back if any needs are met there. So there's a lot of great things happening there, primarily from our perspective and within this new automation platform view here, what you can expect from us. Obviously, today we've been working mainly in this Ansible content collection space. If you're really new to Ansible, Ansible content collections are basically groupings of content into what you can almost think of as a folder that allows you to automate against a very specific piece of the operating system or software or middleware or applications. And I'll go over what our collections that we have available from IBM today are, but we're definitely in talks with additional teams within IBM for additional collections to be released hopefully this year. So when you see the list, don't expect that that's the end, because we are rapidly having conversations with many teams about what we're able to grow and build upon in this Ansible ecosystem from IBM Z Systems here. Another really exciting space that you will see us talking about this year, and hopefully have content to provide to the community this year, is execution environments, sitting right in the middle. So what you can think about as an execution environment is basically this is a way to take and containerize a collection and your playbooks and basically bring the execution of that playbook outside of the automation controller and basically choose where you're driving that execution from via a container, which is, known as an execution environment. So what we're thinking about here, right? Nothing is confirmed yet. We're still kind of investigating this technology on its newer end and understanding what our capabilities are here to contribute to. But what we're looking at here is a way to, maybe at first, taking our ZOS collection, packaging it into the execution environment, taking the prerequisites needed for the ZOS core collection and packaging it into that execution environment, maybe giving you a couple playbooks on job orchestration or dataset creation or disaster recovery, backing up of data on the ZOS platform, packaging it in there as well, and kind of having a starter container to be able to drive your Ansible execution from for Z. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. There will be a lot more information coming from us later this year as we start to build the execution environment itself. But definitely an exciting space to pay attention to. And there's a whole lot of other capabilities in the Ansible automation platform that I'm going to talk about after I go through the content a little bit here. So it definitely doesn't stop there for where us at IBM and others within the Ansible for IBM Z Systems community at other vendors are looking into here. I do see the first question that just popped up in chat, so let me handle that really quickly. Ansible with ZOAU versus ZOSMF. What are the best tools for system management on ZOS? I'm asking because I see a lot more efforts in the Ansible community to improve their toolbox, and ZOAU is also a great stuff, evolving very fast. Yeah, great question. I think that we get a lot of questions today about kind of overlapping capabilities across different offerings, especially across ZOSMF and Ansible, specifically across their workflow and cloud provisioning and management capabilities and, Ansible's ability to drive automation in a different way, right? What I think about there is a couple different things. First of all, just for your awareness, the Ansible team that I have worked with and the ZOAU team sit under the same management. So we actually drive the priorities and any updates that are required in the ZOS core collection that I'll talk about in a second. Usually we're looking at things like ZOAU to be able to provide that service to be able to then create that Ansible module for. That's probably why you've seen a lot of kind of efforts in that Ansible and ZOAU community to keep kind of building upon that toolbox. To really be able to provide a lot of those services in a very direct Ansible type of way via, SSH connects into Unix system services and driving our Python code under the covers there, right? We don't really want to be reliant upon from an Ansible perspective, especially for the ZOS core collection itself, any type of API interface, because we really want to be able to own the way that those services are being accessed and what parameters we can then add to accessing those services to be able to better bolster our modules, to be able to provide more, item potency and declarative type of capabilities as a part of those modules. Now, I want to pause there and say that we are not looking to replace any offerings at IBM. There are definitely use cases in which ZOSMF and things like AF Opera or system automation have their role, right? Particularly, and I'm going to highlight a future-facing Ansible capability later that might prove this not true, but particularly, we have a limitation with Ansible to a degree, right? Where Ansible doesn't actually run on the Z platform, and it doesn't actually have an agent that's sitting in ZOS somewhere monitoring, things like SMF records or the syslog. So you can't really do today much proactive automation, as we call it, with Ansible, unless you are scheduling a playbook to gather information from the system on a regular basis to look for something, right? Which kind of gets a little dirty at that point. So there are future-facing capabilities I'll talk about later in this deck that we're really excited to look into. And I'm definitely excited to talk about those as well, but definitely not looking to replace any offerings, but we are definitely excited about the progress we're making in the ZOAU and Ansible space here. And we're hoping to have a lot of new exciting capabilities in those spaces coming soon too. I'll also note that there's a lot of exciting playbook and collection updates coming in the ZOSMF collections and the Kix collections that are available from IBM today too. So there's a lot of great content coming in this space. And even if you are invested in something like a ZOSMF and ZOSMF workflows today, that doesn't stop you from getting started with Ansible Automation Platform at all, because the ZOSMF collection provides all the orchestration capabilities to drive workflow execution and cloud provisioning management execution, right via Ansible as automation platform. So a lot of great things happening there too. I see another question that popped up. What about Ansible versus tools like IBM Urban Code Deploy or Jenkins? Yeah, great question as well. I like to talk about Jenkins first because Jenkins is something that's been very popular being used with Ansible for a very long time, actually. If you go on Jenkins and you go into the Jenkins dashboard, there's actually an option to add a plugin for Ansible there where you can actually execute playbooks directly as a part of your pipelines. There's also, on the other front, in Ansible, a collection for Jenkins so you can call pipeline execution from your playbooks. So there's a very good, dynamic already happening in the enterprise from the distributed space that have been happening across both Ansible and Jenkins today. And all of that works for Z as well. Obviously VS Code is a very popular IDE as well for writing both Ansible playbooks, but also any types of pipeline type of tools for Jenkins. And with the plugins that come with VS Code for Jenkins and Ansible, you can really have a really nice development environment across the two as well with something like a VS Code. Urban Code Deploy is a little bit, is very similar to that, I will say, although I don't think there's as many direct integrations across the two. But, you can use Ansible for application deployment, but it's not what it's built for, right? It's really built more for automation, and Urban Code Deploy is really built to be an application deployment type tool. So what we see there is if you have certain one-off type use cases or things that you need to automate as a part of your application deployment tool, you can definitely have Urban Code Deploy either kicking off those playbooks to kind of have a more holistic or wider range of capabilities as a part of your application deployment process. And really what we do there is we tell a better together story that by using the two together, you're really honing in on a wide range of capabilities you can do in that application deployment space. So we actually did a webinar on Ansible and Urban Code Deploy, I think about 2 years ago, where we talked about all the great use cases and benefits and actually showed a bunch of demos of Urban Code Deploy calling Ansible and Ansible calling Urban Code Deploy, and it was really well received from a lot of our clients. So if you're interested in that, please shoot me an email and I'll be happy to get you the recording of that, the demos or the presentation that we did there. Awesome. All right, back to the deck. I already talked about most of this now in answering those last couple of questions. But here are the list of collections from IBM that we currently have available today. So going down the list, Hardware Management Console collection. This is the only one that's not specific to ZOS on this list, as you'll notice. The Hardware Management Console collection is really exciting because they just updated this recently, and now you're really able to manage a wide range of the different LPAR configuration details, different adapters that connect into the mainframe that you would manage with the Hardware Management Console. And it really doesn't stop at any type of system that you're able to manage, because previously we did have a limitation there where it was more of ZVM and Linux on Z type LPARs that we can manage with the Hardware Management Console collection. Now we've nixed that requirement, and it works against ZOS LPARs as well. So really excited about the Hardware Management Console collection this year. We have a lot of clients that are looking at things like automated IPLs with this collection in tandem with some of our other collection content as well. So exciting space there. Kix collection, just had a meeting with the Kix team actually yesterday about what their roadmap looks like for 2023 in this collection. There's a lot of exciting things getting planned here, so a lot of updates coming. This collection connects into the CMCI REST interface for Kix, so pretty much anything you can do against that, you can do with the Kix collection. I just came from our Ansible Community Guild meeting right before this, actually, which is a monthly meeting we host for a lot of our early adopters of Ansible. So first of all, if anyone wants to join that, let me know. Happy to get you added to that, where we talk monthly about the new capabilities happening in the Ansible automation space for the mainframe, as well as bringing people from Red Hat or clients to share their use cases and capabilities. So definitely great opportunity to stay involved in this space, after this this track today. But we were talking about in the community guild is before this about the Kix collection and some of the capabilities that clients are using there. And I saw some talking about upgrading of Kix regions, provisioning of Kix regions, starting new instances and stuff like that. So a lot of great things happening in the Kix collection as well. Then we have our big boy, the ZOS Core collection. So this is our first collection dropped, and by far the most popular out there today. We are now the number, I think, 4 or 5 most downloaded collection from IBM now on GitHub. So, out on Ansible Galaxy. So the adoption rates over the last 3 years have been incredible. I believe we're up to almost like 110 or 120,000 downloads for that collection now. It's incredible. That collection is on a quarterly update cycle, so there is constantly new versions getting dropped. We are about to drop a new one in the next couple of weeks as well, so definitely look out for my announcement blogs and stuff like that coming on that collection there, and I'll highlight a bunch of use cases which clients are using for that one in a second here. Very similarly, the IMS collection. So our team does manage both. My team directly manages both the IMS collection and the ZOS Core collection, and the IMS collection actually just got an update as well to being able to take advantage of some of those new capabilities that have come out with both the Ansible automation platform, Ansible Engine 2.11, and the new ZOAU version that came out. So kind of speaking back to the question I got before of ZOAU kind of updating and providing a lot of great features, when those new features are added to ZOAU, other areas of the business are able to take advantage of those as well, and the IMS collection is one of those. So very exciting kind of stuff coming there too. I will also mention, I didn't have the chart yet, and it actually just dropped today, so I wasn't able to get it in this deck in time, but at IBM, we've also started a preview program with this collection to showcase the provisioning of IMS subsystems from OpenShift using Ansible automation. If that's something you're interested in for dev test type use cases of needing to rapidly, provision and tear down and, alter your IMS environments, let me know, and I'd be happy to get you involved in our preview program to explore that technology, help us understand what you're looking for as a part of that experience for your developers. It's a great preview program and really, should be beneficial to us both in understanding how to better the experiences of our developers around IMS. So definitely let me know. ZOSMF collection provides a lot of the connectors into the APIs for ZOSMF for workflow execution, security configuration assistant, cloud provisioning and management type capabilities. And as new plugins are released for ZOSMF, you can expect new REST APIs to be stood up in front of those plugins. And what comes behind that is then an Ansible module to support those REST APIs. So a lot of new stuff coming with the ZOSMF collection as well. And then the system automation collection, which is a policy-based automation product from IBM. This provides the capabilities, this collection, to do creation and deletion of dynamic resources, which is a capability of system automation. And they actually just put out an update too, conforming to some of the newer versions of the Ansible engine and other community content. So all of these are getting regular updates. We have a lot of new content coming in the future too to extend upon this. And I don't have the chart today that I'm going to show, but what I want to highlight here is don't limit yourself for what you can automate with just these 6 collections here, because I'm sure, as you've seen in some of the other sessions today as well, we can automate against a lot of things in the enterprise today. First of all, outside of the collections that IBM are providing, the community has provided a ton of collections over the years. Primarily, that started more in the distributed space, but can also work with Z, are things like ServiceNow, right? A lot of us use ServiceNow as our change management request system, and ServiceNow and Ansible have a very large investment together on automating that change request process. So that's very popular. We have a lot of clients that are leveraging certificate authorities called Venafi, which has an Ansible collection out there. So if you're looking at doing automation against certificate renewal or something like that, that has a collection out there. All the big, cloud providers and Amazon, Microsoft, and Google all provide their collections across their environments as well. So we have many, many clients today who are, and I'll show an example of this in a second, of clients who are actually using Ansible across, their cloud environments where they're hosting their AAP environment and then bringing data to and from the mainframe. And they're using, 3 or 4 collections in a single use case. And it's so cool to see. As well as, I'll mention, Broadcom. They just released a bunch of collections for a lot of the Broadcom related mainframe products, right? So this space is just growing and growing and growing. Definitely don't limit yourself to just these 6 collections, because with all the community content that's out there and the capabilities that you can use the ZOS core collection or hit any API in the enterprise for, you can really do a lot with the content that's available today. So if you want to talk about that further, happy to discuss that, but just always like to share that message that we really can do a lot with what the content that's out there today is. Okay, so just really by the numbers really quick, right? For over 3 years, 180,000 downloads across the different collections that I just showed. That's a pretty impressive number, right? 180,000 downloads over 3 years. I think we're pretty proud of that. As well as we have a resource that we support here at IBM as well called our Ansible for IBM Z sample playbook repository, or, we've tried to drop the word sample because it's a lot more than just samples in there. There's some very robust use cases to help people get started. And that's really what we're trying to do with that playbook repository, help people get started. So we now host over 150 playbooks in a GitHub repository spanning multiple use cases that grow way beyond just the 6 collections that I just showed, showcasing how you can use the community API module, or showcasing how you can do security related automation with the ZOS core collection TSO command module to hit ACF2 top secret or RACF, right? So a lot of great things happening in the playbook repository, and this is open source. I'm going to say this again when I call this out again later, but this is open source. So if you are starting to write playbooks today, please consider contributing back to the community to help others get started with Ansible as well. The more use cases we can represent here and help each other get started on, the better and easier we can automate and adopt an Ansible automation strategy with our platform here. So definitely excited to get more contributions this year to the Ansible playbook repository there as well. Awesome. All right, going to pivot into use cases here, and I'll talk about one on the following slide that has been by far our most popular with customers today. So this is actually updated. If you've seen this before, this has been a very popular chart that we've shown for years. This is updated because there is an area that's kind of been popping up as a very popular one recently that we've had multiple customers either starting POCs or implementing Ansible automation for. And I'll go in progress, but I'll call out that new one first in the migration and recovery section there, 2 down on the left-hand side. We've had a lot of customers looking at doing disaster recovery information collection, of leveraging some of our modules to grab information from the systems, store those data sets or whatever the case may be, in a GitHub repository or something somewhere. So if anything ever went wrong on a system, they have backups somewhere that they can then, use Ansible then to deploy back out to those systems if they ever needed to. As well as just migration of data across systems, right? We're watching new versions of the ZBox drop on a regular basis, right? People are looking at migrating data and applications across systems. And certain customers are definitely looking at using Ansible for that as well. It's become very popular in the dev test space as well for doing use cases like that. So this is kind of our new area that we're definitely excited about working on a bunch of customers with. We have new modules dropping soon that are going to make this area a little bit easier, which we're excited about. And you'll definitely be hearing from me about that in the future as well. But going down the list of some of the other ones that are really popular, I don't want to highlight all of them, but provisioning and maintenance has definitely been a very popular topic. Building and provisioning of middleware, as well as being able to, rolling out, updates to, let's say, thousands of Liberty instances. Or we actually have a customer that just reached out to us recently about wanting to be able to control up to 1,000 ZOS Connect instances at the same time, right? So that's something Ansible is really good at, is its ability to automate at scale. So that's something we're excited to work on clients with, and we've been working on with many clients. We've also had certain clients who are automating the job execution that they've been running today within the SMPE space. So now they're automating their SMPE type process with Ansible. And we actually have playbooks in our repository that you can get started with today on that exact use case. In the security automation space, I'm going to skip the certificate renewal process one, because as I've been alluding to for a couple minutes now, that's been our most popular use case. And I have a dedicated slide to that next with a bunch of resources you could check out there. But password resets and creation of new users has definitely been a popular one as well. It's a good starter use case, honestly, because it's a great example of something that can save you time by creating a self-service model to allow your developers to basically have self-service capabilities to create their own user IDs and get the necessary approvals from their higher level system programmers or whoever would be approving of that down the flow. There is a video out on the IBM Media Center that I recorded on this exact use case, where we show in the automation controller how you can set up notifications. So if the developer comes in and requests a new user ID, that can kick off a notification to the system programmer, who has the authority to approve or deny that request. And then if he approves that request, obviously kicks off all the automation under the covers to create that user ID. And the last step of that is it sends a notification and email to that user when he filled out the form in the beginning of his user ID request form in Ansible, and provides all those connection details, and then ultimately connects into the system. So pretty cool little use case there. I'd say we're also looking at content this year to make that a little bit more streamlined. But definitely security automation has been extremely popular. The last one I want to talk about here, since I did talk a lot about UCD and Jenkins there before, same type of thing with ServiceNow, is the orchestration space. This is really where I wanted to talk more about. There's a lot of automation that we have on the Z platform already, right? We've been using JCL for years. We've been using Rex for years. And there's a lot of that being maintained and extremely powerful within our environments. And I am not here today saying to rewrite all of your Rex and JCL into Ansible playbooks, because that's counterproductive. And, that's, if we have the people in our shops that understand all those Rex and JCL at this point too, then we need to stick with that type of stuff that's already working, right? So let's look at this from a different perspective of tying in that existing Rex and that existing JCL into your new automation strategies with Ansible, right? So from the automation controller, using the ZOS core collection to kick off those jobs and schedule those jobs on a more regular basis. Or if you know that there's some type of certain maintenance window or whatever that needs to happen at a regular scheduled date that you would normally have to run a certain jobs for, right? Using Ansible to do that. You can orchestrate that existing Rex and JCL and even template it with Ansible's templating engine, Jinja 2, to be able to replace variables within your Rex and JCL before execution. So a lot you can do in this orchestration space. We're really not talking about getting rid of all that existing automation, because it's counterproductive from our perspective, right? But any new automation and any existing automation that can be orchestrated with Ansible, we're definitely excited about looking into. There are also, cases where we could say that if you are creating new Ansible or new automation, to consider an Ansible automation strategy there. And we'll be happy to, I'm happy to go into that deeper with any, any people who are interested in that space too. Okay, so here we go with the certificate management use case that I've said has been our most popular one that we've worked on with clients. Specifically, there's two banks represented on this chart, because one I don't have approval to talk about externally with their name. But this bank that we've worked with here have managed 3,000 certificates a year, right? And that is taking them on average up to this point, before implementing an Ansible automation strategy, about an hour per refresh for each of the 3,000 certificates, right? So we're talking about a significant time investment when it comes to this time of year where we have to renew all our certificates. Through our help of our team and a POC we worked on with this customer, we've saved that customer over 2,700 hours per year by bringing that refresh process down to minutes from an hour. So it's been extremely rewarding to work with many customers on what has been a very large pain point for a lot of our customers, as we've learned in a lot of the research we've done with them. So certificate management, extremely popular. We've also worked with Rabobank on this exact use case themselves. And actually, they presented with us at IBM Z Day last year on this use case and the value that they were getting out of it. And this is actually a great example of their topology here on the right side of how they have Ansible implemented in the enterprise. So they run it a couple different ways. And this topology was created in the middle of their migration to the Ansible automation platform as a whole. And they actually are running the Ansible automation platform using Azure repositories, so Microsoft Azure instead of GitHub there to host their playbooks, and then connecting into ZOSMF and ZCX and their different ZOS environments to drive automation from the Ansible automation platform, pulling their playbooks from Azure, right? So it's a great example of leveraging those multiple collections and community content that are out there, and really creating this hybrid cloud kind of focus and environment here with this Ansible automation platform strategy that they're looking at. So really exciting things happening there. I also have a full demo video available on the IBM Media Center, showcasing the playbooks that we've created, the flow we kind of experienced in working with a lot of customers on this use case. And all these playbooks, I believe 16 playbooks are available in the playbook repository if you're interested in this use case to help you get started on certificate renewal automation with Ansible. So exciting space, been very popular. Worked on this with about 10 clients over the course of the last 2 years. Been very fun. Okay, a little bit more strategy and focus and how we're putting Ansible front and center in some of our offerings. So DevOps strategy at IBM Z. This has been very popular, and we talked about it a lot before, so I don't want to take too much time here because we talked about Jenkins and UCD and stuff like that. But Ansible is just, you can look at it as a big piece that you can use for automation in your DevOps pipelines. We have a lot of capabilities and a lot of customers who are looking at different ways to modernize application deployment or modernize the way that the development processes work. And we're trying to move a lot of people over to VS Code and more modern IDEs to do that type of development, right? And Ansible just plays such a native role in all of that with its existing plugins in VS Code, with all the community content that can be leveraged for the Z platform now. It's really exciting. And just know that, Ansible itself, we don't look at per se as much of a DevOps tool, but you definitely can include it in your DevOps strategies and leverage it in DevOps type of use cases. So lots happening there in the DevOps space. Suman Gopinath has been doing great work at IBM, if you know her, around this. And then as well as we're packaging Ansible into offerings as well from IBM. So recently, about a year ago now, we released the IBM Z and Cloud Modernization Stack from IBM. And a big part of that you might have heard of before is the ZOS Cloud Broker. Previously in its previous iterations of the ZOS Cloud Broker, the ZOS Cloud Broker, used to kick off provisioning capabilities of middleware for your ZOS system. It used to do that by orchestrating workflow execution with ZOSMF Cloud Provisioning and Management. We've now recently reworked the inner workings of the ZOS Cloud Broker to leverage Ansible behind the scenes. So it is now using Ansible and these things called Ansible operators that you can leverage all within your OpenShift environment to have self-service access to ZOS middleware and developer instances of ZOS right from OpenShift. So there's a lot happening here. This is where that preview program for IMS I mentioned is coming into play to really have a first look at what that experience can look like for specifically for IMS customers, but we'll be expanding that out to other middleware groups in the future. But the IBM Z and Cloud Modernization Stack has a ton of Ansible being driven behind the scenes for a lot of its self-service and automation type capabilities that it's providing. And we're really excited about this next year with this offering and some of the new capabilities coming there. Going to transition now to future facing stuff. So Project Wisdom. This is something that's not out yet, but is in, I don't even know. I don't even think it's an alpha. I think it's before alpha right now. But this is a joint project between IBM Research and Red Hat, where we are looking at bringing in IBM's AI and natural language processing capabilities to be able to automatically write Ansible playbooks, and basically be able to pull from that wide range of community content, where you can then in plain text write in VS Code, I want to provision a Kix instance. And via the models that are getting trained today, we can then go through and auto-populate all of the different modules that would be required to provision a Kix instance, verify that Kix instance is online, as well as with the predefined variables we can set up as a part of that playbook, auto-populate those modules with your environment details that you've specified. So this is a really exciting space, very early on, but our Z System and ZOS team are working with the Project Wisdom group to have Z be a part of this story. If this sounds interesting to you, what I really suggest doing is go check out the YouTube playlist that I have linked here. They have video demos of this, of what they were able to show at Ansible Fest around this, and it is extremely impressive. It really is. So we're really excited about this capability becoming more mature over the next year, and hopefully really having a role in that from a Z System perspective. And the last future-facing capability I want to talk about is a really exciting one that just got into developer preview with the newest version of the Ansible platform 2.3, which is event-driven Ansible automation. So as I mentioned earlier in this session, event-driven or kind of proactive automation has been a limitation, not only for the Z platform, but for other platforms as well, because we don't have an Ansible, any Ansible type of task that's running on the platforms to be able to monitor execution or monitor logs or monitor, resources to be able to take action upon things when they occur, right? And that's where event-driven Ansible automation is coming into play here, that we are now going to be able to create these kind of rules and these rule books that basically are pulling from identified sources. Things today like webhooks and Kafka or Sensu and Prometheus that are more distributed focused today, but we're definitely investigating what sources we can, integrate with on the ZOS side as well, and really start having these proactive type of automation use cases that we can complete with Ansible for the Z platform. This just got dropped very recently, so this is definitely something that we're still researching on our end and starting to talk to our Red Hat counterparts that we work with here on our joint strategy. But this is really exciting, not just for the Z platform, but for all platforms that Ansible can integrate with. We'll be hopefully sharing some news here later on in the year about what we're looking at and some of our goals here. So just a really exciting new feature that came out from Red Hat that we're very excited to take advantage of. Okay, so if you're new to Ansible, let's talk a little bit about how, I suggest getting started. We have some great resources available today to get started, and then I'll open up for any questions with any of the remaining time that I have. So first of all, we have a Z trial out there today. We actually just upgraded it right at the end of last year. So this is leveraging now the latest and greatest ZOS core collection content. There's 3 scenarios you can run through. It's all hosted in a virtual desktop type environment. So there's no setup on your system needed at all. You just go on the Z trial dashboard, request the Z trial, and you'll have an email in your inbox with all the access information in an hour. We have 3 scenarios today you can run through that are guided. We have the playbook for pinging ZOS, very simple starter playbook. It's actually what we tell all clients to do when they're setting up their environments to ensure that all of their prereqs are set up correctly. We then have another playbook for doing data set operations. So moving data across, from Unix system services to the MVS side into ISPF type data sets, creating different types of data sets. Stuff like that. The dataset module has a very wide, robust set of capabilities in the ZOS core collection, so we just want to highlight a lot of that there. And then we have a playbook for job management. So we're taking a piece of JCL, submitting that piece of JCL with Ansible, querying that job status with Ansible, and pulling the job results as well with Ansible all there. So a lot of, very good starter type use cases to really experience how Ansible can work with ZOS for some very basic type of use cases, but really giving you the framework you need to expand out upon those use cases as well. And then we also added, as a part of this update, the ability to kind of go off on your own and try additional playbooks. And we've identified a set of playbooks in our playbook repository that work in this environment right out of the box. So I believe it's 8 or 12. I always blank on the number, but there are either 8 or 12 playbooks that you can run through on your own time there as well, that are in the playbook repository in this hosted environment, as well as all the first 3 playbooks are also represented in the playbook repository. So if you are trying these out on the Z-Trial hosted environment and then you want to try them out on your own end, you could always clone that GitHub repository or bring in those playbooks from GitHub there and start playing with them in your own environments as well. So great first kind of hands-on experience with Ansible for the mainframe. Now, we obviously have to get the Ansible automation platform in place as well, right? So Red Hat does provide a free platform trial for the Ansible automation platform. You get 60 days, comes with everything. And really, this is all about experiencing all the great capabilities that I showed in that topology earlier for the Ansible automation platform, because you really do get a lot out of running the full Ansible automation platform. There's so much value there. And you get access to our certified and supported content through that license as well, which means that you get support from both Red Hat and IBM for the collections we have out in the enterprise today. So really exciting stuff happening there. As well as if you want to experience any of those components of the Ansible automation platform, Red Hat recently released these self-paced labs now that you can run through as well. So if you want to check out what the automation platform looks, or the automation controller looks like, and kicking off playbooks from there, you can try that out. If you want to automate ServiceNow with Ansible, they even have one for that. And I believe that they actually just added one for the event-driven automation Ansible capabilities as well that are now in developer preview. So definitely suggest checking those out. I've actually heard a lot of really positive feedback in running through those. They're very good. So check those out as well. And then last but not least, we have the sample playbook repository, which I've mentioned a couple times now. This is open source, so please consider contributing as you start to adopt Ansible, as you start to write playbooks. Reach out to me. I'll be happy to show you any of the contribution guidelines we have, which are very simple. It's really just helping others get started here. And we have 150 plus playbooks represented in here today. And really, we're trying to expand that number, twofold this year. So the help of the community here will definitely help with that. And I'd really appreciate it. All right. Last slide before the session feedback, and then I can take any questions. Join our on the IBM Z and Linux One community. We have the Ansible for IBM Z topic group. And really what this topic group serves as is your one-stop shop for basically any new capabilities coming out in this space. I will be posting something here. And if it's not me, it's one of my colleagues in this space. So any type of new version of a collection that drops, any type of new use case that we have playbooks for in the sample playbook repository that we've put out to the community, will have, content here that highlights all of that. So it's a great way to stay up to date. I'd also say if you connect with me on LinkedIn, anything new that gets posted here, I also usually duplicate on my LinkedIn. So it's a great way to funnel to the new content when it's posted. As well as I mentioned, we host our monthly Ansible for IBM Z Community Guild meeting. And within our community topic group here, we have a library where we host all the previous recordings and presentations of that community. So we meet monthly, we talk about all the new capabilities coming, we get help with our roadmap there. We also have customers and Red Hat and others come in and showcase all the great work they're doing with Ansible as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, please reach out to me and I'd be happy to get you invited to the March iteration, as we just had the February iteration this morning. So definitely looking to grow that community as well and help get more feedback on our product here. So with that, definitely continue taking any questions in chat or however else we want to do questions here. But, please provide any session feedback. I really appreciate the GSE UK virtual conference, one for doing a, Ansible track this year, but two for having me. It's been a very exciting last couple of years with Ansible. We're really looking forward to some of the new stuff that I've mentioned and that I haven't been able to mention, but I will be mentioning later this year as I'm able to share more there. I look forward to sharing our updates with you all soon. So thank you very much, and I'll take any additional questions that we may have.
Thank you, Dan. There's no questions at the moment. Oh, there might be. Your energy really comes across and enthusiasm. So thank you very much for that. You're getting some good feedback in the chat. If anyone has any questions, they can raise their hand. I'll unmute them. This is your opportunity.
Appreciate all the positive feedback, guys. I really do.
Yeah, well, I think it's just a reflection of the effort and the, as I say, the enthusiasm you put into it. Some super interesting stuff there. I will be following you on LinkedIn, so don't be surprised when you get that connection.
Awesome.
I think it's a really exciting opportunity for us on the mainframe to add another layer of automation that we haven't been able to get to. Please post the link here for the feedback. Sure, we can do that.
Yeah, and just as well, if anyone's new to Ansible and this is kind of their first time learning about Ansible, in this conference here, definitely feel free to reach out to me and my team as well. We do on a more than a weekly basis, we do overviews with customers on what Ansible is all about, what the content that's available today, how you can get started, and some of the stuff I shared today, but a little bit more in depth into some of the capabilities we work on. So if you need some help getting started or be improving the value of what Ansible can provide your business, definitely reach out. We're really working with customers very regularly on this type of stuff.
There you go, Dhirendra. Hope that you can use that link. Great. So 8 minutes time. No, got half an hour break now. And then there's a keynote from Broadcom with Greg Lotko talking about mainframe value bigger together. So if anyone's got some time to join that, that would be a good session with Greg. Maybe even some dressing up. You know how he likes to make an impression for those that have been to the November Real event. Dan, thanks very much. Hope to talk to you in the coming year with Joe Winchester and the rest of the Ansible community, and maybe see you in November. We can have some content for that. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day tomorrow. Last day tomorrow, but it's going well. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.